You know, there's a lot of games out there, including tactics and strategy games, that have roguelike, roguelite elements included in them, right? But they don't really go whole hog. Well, today, we have a game that does exactly that, and it is by far the best example of a complete roguelike experience in a turn-based strategy RPG that I have seen to date. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including my coverage of interesting indie turn-based strategy RPGs such as today's title Astral Throne, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And hey, if you've ever picked up a game that I've recommended on the channel and you'd never heard of it before or just were kind of on the fence and wanted to hear someone's thoughts about it, let us know in the comments because it's cool to see when people actually try some of these little niche titles out thanks to my recommendation. It's always fun. So what exactly is Astral Throne? It is an indie release, as I'm sure you can probably imagine, and it is absolutely one of the best blendings of turn-based strategy RPG and the roguelite formula that I have ever seen. This is a true combination of these two genres, and surprisingly enough, it is definitely a peanut butter and jelly type of scenario. While this will not be a full review, as I've not technically finished the game, you know, it's kind of a roguelite and things just go through runs, and there's a lot of different things to experience and paths to take, yada yada yada. I have played a fair amount of it, both on stream and on my own time, so I want to be able to go through here and explain what the game is to you guys, show it off, so that if you're interested, you can go ahead and pick it up, because I do think there is a lot of value to be had here. We'll break the video into two sections. First of all, how the game handles its turn-based strategy RPG elements, what you might expect for those who are fans of the genre, as most of you probably are, and then where we kind of get the roguelike, roguelite elements, and how that influences how things progress. There's a lot to break down here, so we'll go ahead and get started. When you first start the game, you'll be given the option to start a new campaign, which is basically how you're going to be starting any given run, and you'll have a few different characters that you can select from for who you are going to have as your main cast. You'll always select two characters right at the start, and who you choose as your primary versus secondary character will impact how the story develops slightly. Basically, it's which character is the focus character, and then who are their support team, right? Each character also does come along with two other generics, and you'll be able to recruit more as you go through the campaign. Notably, yes, there is a full campaign in this game, even though you do wind up, losing, starting new runs, etc., which is, of course, very important for any good turn-based strategy RPG. Once you're in, the map is going to look very familiar. You've got grid-based, square-based movement, you've got cavalry, you've got archers, you've got mages and sword fighters. Every unit has a class, you have different abilities you can utilize, attack ranges, you know the drill. If you are on this channel, you've seen this type of gameplay before. It's definitely more Fire Emblem than Final Fantasy Tactics, although there is a little bit of that sort of tactics genre in there as well, and the game plays very, very smoothly. As you get kills, characters level up, you'll get new skills, you'll wind up getting access to new classes, new weapon types, everything that you would probably expect here. You have different terrain modifiers, different mission objectives from mission to mission, effectiveness against different types of targets. If you're familiar with Fire Emblem, you will be right at home here. As you progress through missions, you will get more dialogue with your characters. They won't really have a bond or support, but you will have a lot of character development between them, and you'll learn more and more about the story of the world. Essentially, our characters are existing at the beginning of the apocalypse. There's some sort of starborn curse that's raising cults that are worshiping the stars or a star. They're actually being possessed by them, seemingly. It's definitely got some eldritch feelings going on, and the goal is to get to the capital and figure out just what the hell is going on. As you do so, you'll learn that maybe some of these characters are a little bit more involved than others, especially certain bosses who seem a bit more lucid than their brainwashed cultist companions, and who may very well be part of what caused this whole thing to begin with. It's an interesting story. I really enjoy when you get to kind of fall into the beginning of a post-apocalyptic scenario and see how that shakes out if you're not able to stop it. The playable characters are a very colorful cast, for sure. You have the main princess, who is sort of like a combined heavy sword wielder, but also spellcaster, slow, tanky, has magic, very fun, different type of class archetype. You have a doctor who is definitely a support character, but also has a big focus on crits and big damage with his scalpel, which is really cool. You have this definitely not Solaire looking fella who is more of a berserker paladin than a supportive paladin, but he worships the sun, which is diametrically opposed to the stars, and he's as such very unhappy about what is happening here. His main focus is charging into battle battle, getting big stat buffs from fighting, eventually going berserk and potentially causing some problems for you, but being so powerful as a result. He's my personal favorite thus far. He's a ton of fun to use. Then you have your typical array of rogues and mounted units, like this flying moth dragonfly lady who's really fun, all sorts of different types of options. You also do, of course, have generics that you'll be able to recruit, and this is where you get a little bit more of that FFT feeling, as these are non-story-based characters. They don't have any lines, but they are very malleable in terms of what classes they can have. You're able to recruit characters as you go, and you can do pretty much whatever you want with them. Each class has a different suite of abilities that you're able to utilize, as well as different weapon types: mages, archers, cavalry, sword wielders, armor knights, etc., etc. You've seen it all before. But what's interesting is that as you progress through the game, you'll be able to learn new weapon types that are in that character's class wheelhouse to kind of expand their capabilities as you go. And that's where you even find promotion items, which allow you to add more classes on top of their existing ones to give you more abilities, more new weapon types, and really start to customize things. You don't have a job system like FFT. This is definitely more of a Fire Emblem promotion, but it's nice that it seems you can add pretty much whatever classes you want together for unique combinations, which can lead to a lot of fun scenarios. As you progress through missions, you'll absolutely find more upgraded weapons that have different abilities, different crit and hit stats, all that type of fun stuff, as well as consumables like bombs, gold sacks, health potions, food for healing, etc., etc. As you progress through chapters, you'll be able to add more named heroes to your roster, and as your roster grows, you'll be able to field more and more characters in battle as well. One of the most interesting aspects to me is the fact that between different missions, your characters don't automatically heal up. So you actually do have to have a little bit of awareness for how many healing items and how much food you have on hand, how much money you have to potentially buy more when and where you can to keep your team topped up. And it makes having something that can heal in battle and being very aware of not taking hits where you don't have to an absolutely massively vital aspect of this game. And I really enjoy it. It kind of leans into that feeling of like everything is going to hell, the world might possibly be ending, and we're fighting an attrition war to try and get to the end of the road and see if there's anything we can do about it, or even just understand what's going on. Now that's the general overview of how this is a strategy RPG, but let's talk about the roguelike aspects, shall we? The first thing you'll notice as soon as you get out on the world map is that, yes, this is definitely a roguelike style world map. You have different nodes that you can progress to. You only have so many different battles and encounters you can take before you're forced into a final encounter, and each time you start a new run, everything will be randomized on the map. So sometimes there's going to be an armor shop and there was an alchemist there before, or sometimes there's going to be 3 battles in a row and you really don't want to have to do that, so you'd prefer to be able to take a little bit of a more casual route. Choosing your path through each of these chapters is, of course, very important in terms of how you're going to be upgrading your characters, making sure that you're able to hit shops when you have the money, take fights where you can to get your experience, and not get your team too worn down before you get to the big climactic final battle of a chapter, where there's presumably going to be a boss, stronger enemies, more difficult objective, etc. As you level up, you will find that you do get the classic roguelike 3 skills that you can choose from, all of which have different varying rarities and, of course, different varying effects. You can take a few different active skills on any given character, and pretty much as many passive skills as you want, which are usually as simple as, oh, get +2 strength but lose +2 resistance, or like adding whole new sub-effects to your character, which can be a ton of fun. As far as the active effects are concerned, you have a lot of just like special attacks or the ability to do extra effects on your basic attacks, different things like that. There's a lot of variety here, and it never really felt boring going from run to run, because my characters would always feel like they were playing in a semi-unique way, even within the same classes that I had played previously. Also, and this is definitely an interesting aspect of the game, you don't just gain experience that leads to direct levels, you gain experience in different skills that then, once you gain enough of those skill ups, that is when you then get a level. So you're not going to be leveling super quickly, which makes sense given the fact that as a roguelite, you're getting a lot of different abilities and customization each time you do level, but you're still able to get your stats to increase over time. So it never feels like you're just kind of having like weird jumpy plateaus and kind of climaxes of strength, right? Like you're always getting stronger, you're just not always leveling up, which I think is a very elegant way of handling a classic turn-based strategy RPG leveling system in a more roguelike style game. It's very, very cool. It's probably one of my favorite aspects of the game, to be perfectly honest. One of the things that I was the most concerned about with Astral Throne, though, knowing that it does have like an actual story campaign that you're going to be progressing through, So doesn't that mean every time you lose a run, you're just going to be going through the same story missions over and over again? Is that not going to get super tedious, even if you are selecting different characters, and as such, you'll get different dialogue and different context on the story? And the answer is yes, possibly. There's definitely going to be certain key point story missions that will feel very familiar. However, what's nice is the game accounts for if you've seen a mission before, so it will actually allow you to auto-skip all story elements of the map and just play it as a normal encounter. So you can just go, like, there'll still be bosses and everything, but you're not dealing with dialogue and all that different type of nonsense. Like, it'll just let you play. You can go through it like a normal map, move on with your day. And unless it's like a big boss chapter, which is of course going to generally be longer, each of these other story-based missions play just as smoothly as a standard skirmish that's going to be a randomized encounter type of deal, right? This means that over the course of the number of runs that I did, I never really got fed up with like, okay, well now I'm in the beginning port city again, and this is where the boss is, and this is where the enemies are. Like, you learn the pattern, you know what to expect, you can just kind of go through, focus on starting to build up your characters, getting some good levels. It makes for a good gameplay loop where once you've done the experience of learning a map, you can figure out how to optimize it to build your team up for the further challenges that are going to be the things that are going to be the new experience, which is awesome. I really enjoy that, and it kind of leans into the idea that we do tend to replay strategy RPGs a lot, right? Like, how often do you have people who know Fire Emblem games like the back of their hand, and they're in the first mission of the game already planning what's going to happen with the couple of characters they want to use right now to the end of the game and how they're going to handle the boss. So it kind of feels like that, and I think that's awesome. I also find it really interesting that the story does adapt a bit depending on what characters you have. Like, you're still doing the same story missions, but you get a lot of different context based on what named characters you have when you're encountering different bosses and different story beats. Like, when you have the princess and the doctor, it's a much more somber, focused, serious tale compared to when you have, say, the princess and the berserker paladin, where she's running around just trying to make sure that he doesn't go completely off the handle and ruin everything while she's also trying to fix what's going on. Definitely an allies of circumstance issue here with them, rather than her and the doctor, who are much more focused on getting things done. That's a really cool dynamic. It's a nice way to make sure that you still do have new, interesting story elements and world building as you progress through different runs, and I can only imagine that as you unlock more characters and have more opportunities to try different team comps, you'll learn more and more, which is a great way to tell a story in a game like this. Finally, one thing that I'm really happy about as well is there seems to be a lot of variety of different encounters between just your skirmishes, right? Like, as you're progressing across the world map towards a node that's going to be a shop or a skirmish or whatever, very often you'll run into a completely different battle on the road where you get ambushed and you have to deal with that, or you find a fork in the road and you can choose, okay, well, do I want to take the right side path? Maybe one of my characters takes a bunch of damage, but we get a cool weapon. Or maybe I can take the left side path and people get healed and I get a couple healing potions because it's a nice, well-traveled road with some guard stations that's still civilized, right? And you can then choose what benefits and what risks you take without having seen them coming, so you still get a little bit of a sense of wonder and surprise and mystique as you progress forward, which is awesome to see. There's also some fun encounters where you can, like, find a treasure chest. It's like, well, we don't really have a key, but we do have the roided out idiot over here who's praising the sun. Maybe he can just rip it open, right? And he takes some damage, but he gets it open, right? Or you'll have like a random merchant or bard or something that you run into and you can try to barter with them to get some benefit, or they can teach you a skill. There's a bunch of different things that I've run into thus far, and I can only imagine that that continues to improve throughout the rest of the game. Taken together, these two halves of two very different genres have been combined in a way that is just so surprising to me. It's not something that I ever would have expected to see. It's really not two types of genres that I ever would have really even asked for. But now, seeing what has been done here with Astral Throne, I am extremely impressed, and it just goes to show that if you have good, well thought out game design and a passion to make something happen, you can absolutely pull it off, and Zero Sun Games have clearly done just that. Finally, because it doesn't really fit into just like the tactics or the roguelike side of things, let's just talk about the art and the OST and the sound effects for a second, right? I love them. Like, yeah, maybe the blocky polygonal look of the general combat scenario isn't going to be to everyone's taste, but I love the pixel art of all the characters, and I love the actual like splash character art of everyone as well. It's got a very unique style. It's kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. I've been trying to figure it out. I'm not very good with art terms, but kind of like sketchy, but like done in a very talented, imaginative high schooler's sketchbook between class, right? And like that might sound insulting, but like there's a style to that type of art that you don't see in just standard internet, Twitter, digital art, or like classic hand-drawn art. Just people dreaming of cool ideas, making fun character designs, and rolling with it. And it lends a very unique style to the game visually that I've not really seen elsewhere, and that I absolutely adore. Like, you look at Sol Ignis, and it's like, yeah, he's obviously Solaire, but he's Solaire if he went completely off the handle. It was like hitting the gym 6 times a week, just pumping roids, and went nuts as a result. And you know what? Yeah, that's the type of idea that I love to see in a type of game. It's not super serious on its face, but it's presented seriously, and I love that. Of course, the biggest thing for me is probably the OST and the sound effects. The sound effects, again, have that kind of like chunky, old school style sound where it's like very almost pixelated, 8-bit, 16-bit sounding a little bit, but it still feels current. It doesn't feel like it's not meant for the system that it's on, which is awesome. And then the OST itself is absolute bangers. I love every track in this game. It lends a sort of mystical Twilight era feel to everything that, again, suits that idea of the coming apocalypse is descending upon us, and we're kind of in the twilight hours of our world. I absolutely love it. It's definitely something that I'm going to be just listening to in my own time, maybe even like listening to in D&D games that I'm in or something like that. It's very, very fun soundtrack and not anything that I've heard before. All told, I highly recommend Astral Throne. I'll have a link to its Steam page in the description down below. Of course, if you're at all interested in checking it out, I highly encourage you to do so. It's $20. It's got great reviews. My buddy Jordan, who is the absolute resident roguelite fiend of my friend group, who also loves a good strategy RPG, has been obsessed with it. He adores it. So if he likes it and you're at all interested in these genres, I highly recommend that you listen to his opinion on it and pick the game up for yourself. I'll absolutely be playing a lot more Astral Throne in my own time when and where I can. It's a great game to pick up, play a few battles, and put back down again, as any roguelite should be, while still having those SRPG elements that we all love. If you've played Astral Throne or you decide to pick it up for yourself, let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments. I would love to hear it. And until the next time, of course, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.